That's what I was wondering. So there's all this political debate about, gun control and all that kind of stuff. I wonder how much role there is, how much responsibility there is on the press not to cover it. Like,
in terms of like making the person famous?
Yeah, or even that, like, the location or anything.
What?
Maybe the fact that it happened.
Okay, the first part is understandable. Like, yes, the media, like, actually covering the shooter, their identity, and like offering coverage to the shooter's identity, it can create copycats or people that like want to get notoriety that way can see it like as a viable option. So I don't have an issue with that. Like that take it started off. It literally started off reasonable and so quickly became unreasonable. Like,
a lot of these people are on disassociatives or they're on psychotropic medicine. Like, is that causing them to be able to do that? Is it just because they're fucked up already and that's why they're on this medication? If you look at the number of school shooters and mass shooters that are on psychiatric medication, it's astounding.
But that's usually not talked about in those terms, right?
Right.
It's talked about sort of in Buffalo. It's talked about the racial aspect of it. So it's a hate crime,
right?
And then here.
Hello? What? These motherfuckers are literally like saying loudly and proudly that they're doing this crime for a white supremacist purpose. What more can someone who engages in a hate crime while simultaneously saying, I'm doing a hate crime because I hate this, what more can they do for these fucking dumbasses to be like, okay, maybe this is a hate crime. Like, maybe this is a white supremacist act of terror. Maybe. Just maybe. I don't know.
Here in Texas, it's talked about, they politicize it immediately about gun control.
Yeah.
And so it seems like there's an over-the-top artificial drama conjured up by the press to get more attention versus sort of properly putting this thing in its context. And I think any one event deserves the press it gets, but it's worthwhile thinking.
Artificial? What the fuck does he mean? Dude, why do people think this guy's smart? People unironically think this guy's like brilliant, don't they? He's like in multiple languages or something. I have always like strayed very far away from this fucking dude because like I think he's yet another like a dumb guy he's like a dumb guy's a smart guy because he was like he is in his field, strictly in his field. A lot of people often look at that and think, oh, that translates to everything else. And to those people, I bring up the Ben Carson example, right? Like I think most people are not going to look to Ben Carson and be like, well, that's a brilliant person, clearly, when he sometimes unironically forgets to fucking breathe, okay? But he is actually very fucking good when it comes to being a neurosurgeon. Like, he's one of the best neurosurgeons. That's just the truth. He has done an incredibly complicated, he's conducted some of the most complicated fucking surgeries on like conjoined twins that were, that needed to be separated from the fucking brain and shit. Like, that's what Ben Carson did, right? But he's a fucking idiot. He's a fucking idiot, especially when it comes to like social shit. He isn't a tenured professor, nor has any output in a field. Oh, he's not even good. I don't know anything about. I actually don't know anything about his background. I just assumed, isn't he is an MIT professor or something, I thought. Technical knowledge does not equal logic. That's the difference with him. No, but you can also be a logical person too, but that doesn't mean that you're going to have like good fucking assessment and good takes on issues that pertain to, I guess, politics.
I just feel like the press wants the drama of the shooting. They're hungry for that drama.
Yeah.
I see that with Ukraine. And what worries me about Ukraine as well is that the press will move on from the war in Ukraine. And then the war will still be going on. And they will no longer care. And there was just a temporary moment of time where it could be used between the Johnny Depp trial and the Will Smith slap to get the world's attention. And the suffering, the humanitarian crisis will continue, as it does in Yemen and Syria. There's something seems to be broken about that kind of mechanism of jumping from point to point to point, and nobody's talking about the nuclear war.
What is the, like when you're
I don't
dealing
disagree
with
with
a
this take.
school shooter type situation,
I don't disagree with this take. The point that he is making about the media and its interest, jumping from point to point, that's fine. That's true. But you can't use the inadequate media response or the fucking monsters that work in mainstream media as a way to basically solidify an underlying right-wing ideology or an underlying right-wing opinion, a reactionary opinion, such as guns are not responsible in any capacity in this last atrocity that took place. Especially if you're like empirically driven, you're like a science guy. I mean, look at the fucking factors, brother. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Joe Biden is right. He's right when he said all these other countries have mental health problems as well. All these other countries have fucking video games. All these other countries have everything else. The only thing that these countries don't have, or the only thing that these countries differ from us, we have guns, readily available, broadly and easily available weapons. All these other countries that have high rates of gun ownership in comparison to European nations, for example, like Switzerland, as one of the chatters pointed out, not have nearly the same rate of gun violence and certainly not mass shootings. And that is because they have regulation. That is the fundamental difference. New Zealand, like I mentioned, 5 million people, 1.5 million guns in circulation, obviously nowhere near the same rate as America, where America has 120%, more guns for 100% of the people. Obviously, America has like an incredible number of guns in circulation. But in a place like New Zealand, if you want to get a gun, you get 3 character references. Same in Canada. If you want to get a gun, you need character references to vouch for you and also a psych eval before you're able to get one.
We want to find out what's wrong with this kid, right? He's dead, so you can't interview him. It's like, what caused it? Will we get an understanding of it? Do you hold the parents responsible? Like, what if you find out the parents were horribly abusive? Or what if you find out this is the product of schizophrenia, bullying in school? Like, what do you, like, how does one address it? I wrote this thing once that I said this country has a mental health problem disguised as a gun problem. And that's what it is. There's so many guns. There's more guns than there are people. I don't think it's a gun situation. And I don't think you can change the fact that and I don't think it's wise to take the guns away from the people and leave all the power to the
Dude, it was so fucking brain dead. He literally mentioned the problem. I don't understand why people who are not professional politicians, because Joe Rogan's not a professional politician. He's just a dumb guy who unfortunately assumes he's a smart guy. And what I fail to recognize in all of this is that, how do they fucking get captivated by right-wing commentary so quickly and so easily to like repeat it? You know what I mean? You're literally just repeating fucking the right-wing deflection. Oh, this country has a mental health problem. Like, yeah, it's true, except so do other countries. Why the fuck do they not have the same rate of mass shootings and gun violence and gun deaths caused by, easily accessible, unregulated flow of a fuckload of weapons? Why?
Government. We see how they are, even with an armed populace. They still have a tendency towards totalitarianism.
Yeah, totally.
And the more increased power and control you have over people, the easier it is for them to do what they do. And there's a natural inclination when you're a person in power to try to hold more power and acquire more power. And there's never an inclination to give more power back to the people, to give more freedoms back to the people. Freedoms lost are rarely regained. And so the situation is, should you be able to own a gun to defend yourself if you're a law-abiding citizen and you know that the police are horribly understaffed and you know that crime and violence are...
Everything you're saying is wrong. The police are not horribly understaffed. They are incompetent, though. And part of their incompetence comes from bootlickers like Joe, who offer them unconditional support and quite literally advocate against accountability. That's the reason why they think they can get away with just like murdering people that they shouldn't be murdering and not murdering the people that they should be murdering. They've never been understaffed. They have the highest budget that they've ever had year over year. This year is no different than the year past.
Should you be able to own a gun to defend yourself if you're a law-abiding citizen and you know that the police are horribly understaffed and you know that crime and violence are real things? And I personally know people who have been robbed. I know people who have had home invasions. I know people that have been in gunfights. What should we do? Should you leave these people unarmed and to be at the mercy of a criminal? Or what should we do? Should we red flag any kid who writes an awful poem or draw something fucked up on his notebook
Yeah,
Why are you going to like insane extreme examples, dude? A full nationwide gun ban is never going to happen. It's just not going to happen. No one is even looking for that. I mean, there are people who want it, but like that's never going to happen. So why are you attacking that point? And red flag laws are accompanied by mental assessments, dude. Psychiatric evaluations. And even then, it's probably not going to happen either, even though it should. It's not like, oh, dude, you wrote a fucking poem? Like, oh, guess you can't have a gun no more. That's not how that works. They did it in Australia. Yeah, we're not Australia though. We are not going to ever do it, okay? Australia has never experienced the kind of gun violence that we experience on a nearly daily basis. Semi-auto ban is the only thing that will make a real difference. Gun people know this because they understand guns. That's why they go there. But like semi-automatic weapons bans are not going to address the entirety of the gun violence either, or even like that big of a chunk of it. It's just going to fucking eliminate mass shootings. That's for sure. You will have a much harder time doing like a full-blown mass shooting with a handgun. It's just the truth. Handguns are significantly harder to shoot with. Every fucking person who's ever shot a gun knows this. They are way harder. They're even harder to acquire. There's that too. They're harder to acquire. They're harder to transport legally. And they are significantly harder to fucking actually use. In the instance of like a mass shooting, you're not going to be able to like effectively kill multiple people with a handgun at the same ease that you could kill multiple people with an AR-15.
Gentleman, I think on his 18th birthday, got 2 ARs, 2 rifles.
From his family?
No, he bought it.
He bought them.
Which is a lot of people are asking. I was vaguely paying attention to the details, but you're talking about, so for ammunition is pretty expensive. And so he somehow was able to afford 2 rifles and ammunition, which is, there's complexities around that. But like, there's a lot of people saying, well, you should red flag it if it's, if you post pictures of guns or have any kind of the symptoms of somebody that might be able to commit this kind of crime, but that's pushing surveillance.
Well, what about people that are just gun enthusiasts?
Right.
You know, people that love handguns the way some people love watches. You know, there's people that are enthusiasts of, gun engineering.
Yeah. And that's most of them.
Yeah.
That's most gun owners.
The vast majority of them.
So it's much more a mental health problem. And it's also in the full context of things, and this is a tragedy, but there's also an element to this that it's a tragedy the way a hurricane is a tragedy, that there's cruel things happen in this world. There's tragic.
Bro, I'm sorry. I will literally never be able to take this man seriously for the rest of my life. This fucking idiot just said gun violence is a tragedy like a natural disaster. First of all, no. What the fuck? Are you insane? Do you think guns are growing on trees? Do you think gun violence is just a naturally occurring phenomena? Do you think it's hailing bullets? I've made this joke. I've said this, like, conservatives want us to believe that gun violence is like a naturally occurring phenomena, and that was like an embellishment. It was an exaggeration. And here he is, straight up making it seem like it's an act of fucking God, dude. There are like 2 to 3 gun seasons a year in the US. It's normal. Yeah, brother, listen, always know, that's why you gotta stand in your hot tub when it's gun season. God damn it, I hate it when it's hailing bullets, brother. That's why, yeet. That's why we got a bunch of autism blankets. We couldn't pay for the plate carrier blankets. They were too heavy anyway. So we're just hoping that the weighted autism blanket that we put over the windows will hold the bullets back. I hate it when it hails bullets, but I love living in Oklahoma. When it's winter, I always give my daughter the bulletproof backpack in the winter. Obviously, it's a part of her everyday carry. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard,
Unexpected, dark things happen in this world. And it's dangerous to generalize from those problems into something like what I hear about. There's a race war, or there's a gun control problem. There's people sort of leverage these tragedies to make some kind of political statement, some kind of societal statement.
Bro, this dude is the dumbest motherfucker I've ever seen. Oh my fucking God. This is literally the stupidest fucking idiot on the planet, dude. Yeah, he's an MIT guy, but like, this is literally the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard from a person who's a scientist, supposedly. How are you fucking running around and being like, I'm a scientist? How does he have a job at MIT as a lecturer and he just simply is like refusing to even entertain empirical evidence in any meaningful capacity when it comes to this issue. He's like, literally will not look at it. I cannot comprehend a world outside of what I have been predisposed to believe. Not gonna look at it, not even pondering it. I don't even want to fucking think like, I wonder if like the readily availability, the mass production and ease of access to an arsenal of weapons here in this country perhaps has something to do with like the rate of gun violence in this country and specifically mass shootings in this country. I wonder if that is the reason. I wonder if that plays a role in it. No, probably not. I mean, dude, even in a country like Switzerland that actually has severe gun regulation, okay, severe gun control, but has a higher rate of weapons in homes per capita than the rest of the fucking countries in Europe, they still end up having more gun violence and more mass shootings even than the other comparable nations around them because they just have more guns. This is just straight up the reality. Two facts always are the same. If you have more guns in circulation, there's a higher likelihood of gun violence happening in your country. And if there are less regulations on top of that, the likelihood of gun violence increasing, mass shootings increasing, skyrockets. That's it. That's it. There's nothing you need to know other than those two. If you're a person who loves science, if you're like a I fucking love science guy, you know, you're like watching, you're on Facebook, you're clicking on I fucking love science posts and stuff, like you should recognize that. You should see that. It is completely insane to me. I thought this was like an actually smart dude. I thought MIT was a credible institution where they're not going to have like any fucking Tom, Dick, and Harry that has idiotic approaches like this and refuses to engage data, running around and going on the Joe Rogan show and saying stuff like this. What the fuck? My man literally said gun violence is like natural disasters.
I think also people try to formulate solutions to problems as if these problems have a limited amount of variables. Like if you have 100 people and you have a gun violence problem versus 330 million people that have all sorts of problems.
America is significantly higher than other countries in per capita too, though. So like it scales along with, I don't understand. Like does Joe Rogan not know what a scale is?
If you have 100 people and you have a gun violence problem versus 330 million people that have all sorts of problems, all sorts of issues with their past, psychology and fucking abuse and trauma, medicine and psychoactive drugs and psychiatric disorders. And
I think you just described Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. And all in one list.
no, because
I love that. Like the dumb guys are like, yeah, we're actually above the Amber Heard, Johnny Depp drama. Like we're actually talking about the issues that really matter by repeating conservative talking points and not even spending more than a fucking fraction of a second. No shot that this guy fucking Lex Fridman has looked into this. Either he is, okay, I'm trying to be as charitable as possible. Either he just was misguided by like a lot of right-wing propaganda and never really checked it, or he is just like a straight up right-wing propagandist, because the things that he just brought up are some of the worst fucking talking points I've ever heard on this matter. It seems like it's a little bit of a grift. I don't know. Maybe it's not. It smells a little weird. It feels a little grifty. So do you think zero guns are a possibility in the U.S.? No, it is not a possibility in the United States, and it's not even what I'm advocating for, okay? In a perfect world, yes, maybe having zero guns would be better off overall, and we could just kiss each other instead of kill each other, okay? Totally great. Love it. Guns are still fun to shoot as long as you are fucking responsible. You need to be able to demonstrate your competence and safety and allow the government to have a gun registry, okay? And allow the government to make sure that you can demonstrate your competence and safety with the gun. And the idea that like we can't do that because it's unconstitutional, it's stupid as fuck. I straight up say I wipe my ass with the Constitution. Fuck that, bro. This Lex Fridman guy is oh god, oh Jesus, oh fuck, oh Elon Musk acquiring Twitter is a big win for free speech. Okay, I see what's going on here. Lex Fridman misrepresents his role at MIT to make himself sound more accomplished than he really is, and the way he went about putting out his self